Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this video is going to be a little update on what has happened and pretty well mostly what hasn't happened on the new distillery area. So if you've seen my previous video, then I started making some changes at the far end of the layout, and that is with plans to insert a new distillery and replacing the coal mine that used to be there. As you can see in this picture, not much has really changed in this area, and partially because I'm still working through some of the plans. So let's have a look at where the plans are and where the hangups are. So what we're looking at here is a similar type of operation in southwestern Ontario, down near Windsor area in a place called Amherstburg. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So it's kind of near Windsor, and this is part of the Crown Royal family of, I guess, alcohol. So it's owned by their parent company, Diageo Canada, and so they receive the similar type of tank cars that I'm planning on doing from Manitoba, where in a place called Gimli, they do the actual aging, and then they come to this facility, and this is where they get unloaded. They get blended into different the flavors and things like that, the sort of the different types of bottles, and then they get bottled here and then sent out for shipment. So this is kind of the basis for where I'm going and what I'm sort of trying to do. Now I zoomed in as best as I could through Google Maps to see their tank car unloading dock facility setup, whichever you want to call it. So this is, from what I gathered, where they actually do the tank car unloading. Now it doesn't really give me a lot of information because as I started finding out and doing some research about tank cars aren't all made the same. So either you have pressurized or non-pressurized tank cars, and the pressurized ones seem to be loaded and unloaded through the top, whereas the non-pressurized ones, they actually have a valve at the bottom, and so they are unloaded through the bottom but filled at the top. So because this is unloading only, then I need to find some way on my layout to represent, well, not necessarily somewhere on the layout, but I know where it's going, but I need some way on the layout to represent the unloading aspect of it. Because as you can see here, this is kind of your standard loading and unloading docks, I guess you can say. So this is where you have the overhead protection, and the hosing and piping comes in across the top, and that's how either you load it, or if you're using pressurized tank cars, that's how it gets unloaded. But here you have, for non-pressurized tank cars, it can be as simple as just a couple pipes. So especially in N scale, that seems kind of boring. So I need some way of semi-accurately, but also interestingly, to represent the tank car unloading. So I'm still trying to sort of work through that, because that obviously has a lot of part and parcel to how the buildings are going to be structured and how the building would have access to the tank car unloading, how the piping interacts with the building. Not to mention, I still haven't found the one building I was looking for. So I'm still sort of going back and forth about how I'm going to unload the tank cars, and then sort of take it from there. The neat thing about Google Street View is you can go for a little ride a little bit farther down the track, and I actually found where they actually do the storage of the tank cars, either coming or going. So one thing I found was very interesting. On many of the tank cars, they actually filter out or block out what's loaded in it. So it's a little MSDS number seems to be sort of blocked out. But the weird thing I found is if you actually go farther down the line and go to the gray tank cars, not the black ones, they don't filter that out. So 3065 is for your alcohol, and as you can see here, they all have their bottom valves for unloading. So it kind of confirms what I was looking for, that I need tank cars for bottom unloading, and that's sort of what's going to be represented on the layout. I even went out rail fanning the other day, and all of this string of tank cars were all with bottom valves. But the weird thing that I found is in N scale, very few options are available. So Athearn came out with one back in 2008, and these were 30,000 gallon tank cars, which had the non-pressurized type tank car, and they have not been available since, and really nobody else seems to make them. So that actually brings me back to my Rapido. Even though these are 20,000 gallon general purpose tank cars, they do at least more closely represent the type of tank car that I'm looking for, the non-pressurized with the bottom valve. So what I may end up doing is actually getting a couple more of those and using those on the layout for my tank cars in Whisky revenue service. So that's basically the update so far, and mostly the update is I'm still in a bit of the research stages, and that's kind of the neat thing about the model railroading hobby is you learn all kinds of new things, and I never realized that even there's that much difference between different types of tank cars and how they get loaded and unloaded. But here I am trying to figure out how to semi-accurately depict sort of that on my layout, that I have these types of tank cars and I need to get them unloaded into a building, and that building will then blend and bottle the finished product to be sent out to my liquor cabinet. So certainly if you have any suggestions or any product suggestions or anything like that, then I'm open to all ears, and 3D printing may be the way to go, or if I can get a good picture of how they do the unloading there. But sadly, at the facility that they do all this, it's pretty tight security and not really something that I can show up with a zoom camera and take some good pictures of. So I may have to just do my best guess. So that's things for now, and I'll check back in when I have another update about how things are going down in the old Whiskey Creek. Thanks for watching.